Hey everybody, welcome to episode 2 of my series, Through the Lens. Today I'll be discussing one of my biggest influences, the Chinese street photographer, Ho Fan. Let's get right into it. I'd like to start with this photograph titled Life in the Slum, which portrays a young girl walking down what looks like an alley carrying possible groceries for her family. As mentioned earlier, Ho Fan did spend some time in the cinema world, and I don't know if this shot was taken before or after that endeavor, but regardless, this shot looks straight out of an opening to a film, with the stone doorway naturally framing the alley and the ray of light shining through the buildings above, landing in just the right spots. I feel a sense of familiarity with this photo, as if the path the girl has taken many times before. Maybe the old woman in the back is an acquaintance that she often has quick conversations with as she goes to and from her destinations. She hurries home, where her family awaits the arrival of the groceries to finish the dinner that they'll eat after a long day of work in the city. Lastly, notice the distinct contrast between the light and darks that he's able to get from his photographs. This is going to be a trend in most of his photographs going forward, so be on the lookout. Moving on to this photograph titled Swaying Tents, where we can see a busy street lined with merchants selling a variety of goods. The ground level is crowded with people going about their day, and the space above them covered by the tents used by the shops to keep away the sun. What I like about this shot is that it invokes a feeling of a dream to me, as I was walking down the very streets myself. The smell of the fruit and the smoke as I make my way through the crowd, the sound of people moving and deals being made, and the feeling of the hot sun that manages to sneak its way through the swaying tents above me. This next photograph is titled Brief Encounter, where we can see a man carrying some goods down an empty street where he encounters a cat. This one isn't anything special in terms of framing or subjects or technique, but I like this shot because it tells a story of a moment that would otherwise be missed. A simple meeting between a cat is something that's not often regarded as a moment to shoot, but really it is. Ho Fan's photography captures moments just like these, the everyday life of the streets of Hong Kong, and that's exactly what is captured here. After a long day, the man finishes up his last delivery. As he walks the now empty streets, suddenly, a small visitor happens upon him. What does the man think when he approaches? Does he share one of the fruits with the cat? Does he smile as he sees it? Does he just continue and ignore it? Who knows? But that fact that it invokes these questions, to me, makes it a great photo. This photo, titled Children's Paradise, portrays a group of children running down a street littered with clothes hanging up above them. It's a beautiful shot that conveys a sense of whimsy. What is simply a back alley street to most is a larger-than-life world of endless possibilities to the children in the photograph. How high those clotheslines must seem to them. The world is theirs to explore. This really brings me back to my childhood when I would play with my friends from sunup to sundown, just running through the neighborhood. And that sense of back to simpler times is something that this photo really captures. In this shot, titled Back to Mother, we can see two subjects, a mother and the small child she's reaching out to on the other side of the frame. The shot also introduces another recurring feature in Ho Fan's photography, which is the use of geometry. So in the empty space between the two subjects, you can see there's geometric shadows, and they're used to great effect to represent something. I believe that they are used to represent the ups and downs of life. As I mentioned in the intro, Ho Fan was separated from his parents at a very early age in the midst of the war. This shot could very well be a window into what Ho Fan felt in that time of his life, the struggles he personally lived out while trying to get back to his actual mother. This photograph could also represent life of the single subject, where on the left we see them as a child, and the shadows represent the ups and downs a person faces before reaching adulthood, and now the adult subject reaching out to her very own child, who must also go through the ups and downs of their own. This is one of my favorite shots by Ho Fan, actually. It brings into account his use of geometry and the use of contrast, although slighter than most of the ones we've seen, and also the use of these perfect subjects that he's got going on here. Next we have this shot titled Steps. We see Ho Fan shooting up a staircase where there is what I believe to be the main subject, and that's the figure holding the parasol that is being illuminated by the sunlight. What I really like about this picture is the way that the sunlight hits the steps and makes it seem like the photo is being divided into sections. At the top we see the busy street, and then every section after that is just sections of black progressively getting thicker. Although most of the shot is black, the use of the sunlight makes it a very unique shot here, especially in the way that it's divided without any use of technology that wouldn't have been available at that time. The shot titled Out There makes use of heavy blacks of the alleyways contrasted against the bright lights of the open harbor ahead. Ho Fan always enjoyed wandering the many alleyways of Hong Kong, where he often found opportunities such as this one. In some of the previous shots, we saw what life was like in the crowded streets and alleys of the city itself. This shot shows a chance to escape that, a chance to open up into a new vast unknown, out there in the lights. Again, much like the first photo, this photo could very well be a shot in a film. The next shot is titled Shadow Parade and features an extremely high contrast shot of what seems like an open street at the edge of the harbor. His use of contrast here is wonderful. The detail of the photo is completely thrown out the window and is traded for the many different silhouettes created by the city itself. The outcome is an assortment of geometry that works together to create a sense of sundown by the harbor. Beautiful shot. In this next shot titled Another Dimension, we see an inverted photograph of shadows being cast by the feet of people walking either at a street or a subway entrance of some sort. The title of this photograph gives us a little bit of an insight of what Ho Fan was trying to capture here. The other dimension probably refers to the shadows that are portrayed here, and this really conveys a sense of wonder into a shot that would otherwise just be an average shot, by simply inverting it and giving it a fitting name. This last shot is titled Triangular, and it features a few techniques that we've seen thus far, and ones that define Ho Fan's photography. Firstly, we see the contrast we're now familiar with, but here is much softer, using the natural light of the whites, and the man's suit as the darks. I really like the way that the light comes in and fills the room, gives everything a nice soft and warm feel. Secondly, we see the use of geometry. So in this particular case, the title gives it away, but it's referencing the natural triangle formed between the man's legs. You can see it there. This technique seems so unnatural, and yet as we can see here, can be found naturally, giving off a very unique style. Lastly, something that you might not have noticed in the previous photos, or maybe you have, he uses the rule of odds a lot, and that basically states that when you include a group of subjects in your photos, an odd number rather than an even number will produce a more interesting and more visually pleasing composition. So in this shot, you can see there's clearly 3 subjects that the eye naturally makes out. Even though there's a lot of more people in the background, they're basically hidden by the bright of the light and the obstructions created by the subjects themselves. Well, there you have it, guys. Thanks for sticking around and listening to me talk about one of my favorite photographers of all time, Ho Fan. The thing I like most about him in particular is his dedication to capturing a sense of feeling in his shots. As I stated in episode 1 of the series, I admire photographers that are able to tell a story through their photography, and Ho Fan is excellent at doing this. Although Ho Fan did pass away back in 2016, thanks to his photos, his vision of the changing world around him was able to be captured, helping others get a view at what life was once like in a land foreign to them but considered home by many, including Ho Fan himself. His interesting decision to blow out the highlights or shadows on some of the photos, losing the detail but further enhancing the subject, is another thing I particularly enjoy about his style. I get a higher sense of what he was feeling when he shot the picture using that approach. And as always, please leave a like if you enjoyed the video, a comment if you have any feedback, and a subscribe if you want to see some more of my videos in the future. Also, check the description, for links to references that I used, including the website that you saw with the photos. And also check out my Instagram page if you want to see my photography journey. Until next time, later.